some amount of football on this weekend, but we have to start with the 5 in a row lads. They're back. Like, there's a full round of Dublin Championship games. Some of them there's nothing on the line, some of them there's everything on the line. So we'll start off with Ballymun against Na Fianna. That's in Group 1 of the Championship, and the amount of county players on show here, I think it's like the equivalent of a Division 3, possibly lower end of Division 2 Championship clash. In like, there's some players who are Division 1 for sure, and then there's sort of, if you kind of average it all out, it's like a Division 2 game kind of. So on one side you've got Johnny Cooper for Na Fianna, Owen Merchant, even Conor McHugh, who, like, he's a brilliant talent, and in any other county he'd be starting. Now, he was named on the bench, I think, for the Na Fianna hurlers last week, but I saw him on the sideline doing water, so I presume he'll probably be okay here. On the other side with Ballymun, sure, take it away with the amount of Ballymun lads.
Sure, you have the six Ballymun lads, in fairness. Obviously you have Evan Comerford, and then you have Dean Rock, James McCarthy, Philly McMahon,
the small brothers.
The small brothers as well, so like, and you obviously have Desi Farrell on the line for Na Fianna, so there's a lot here. Like, there's possibly the next Dublin manager
in Desi Farrell.
Yeah, but like, if Cavan were to go, I'd imagine he'd be the leading candidate. Unless Pat Gilroy.
On the hurling podcast, you were giving out about odds going out for the Wexford manager, and here you are picking the next Dublin manager.
I'm speculating. I'm not saying he's 5-4 favourite. I'm just saying, but like, he's, as regards apprenticeships and that, he's even been involved with the Dublin hurlers this year, been involved with Na Fianna and keeping his hand in at the club scene. He ticks all the kind of right boxes in that way. But that's a real juicy match, and as you say, like, that's inter-county standard club match. Like.
Kilmacud Crokes are already through in this group, so they would have beaten both Ballymun and Na Fianna. They're against St Sylvester's, who are out, so that game is a nothing game. But this is kind of knockout, and it's interesting about the Ballymun thing and the conversation about Dublin and all the money being pumped in. And they came out hard when RTÉ prime time. Yes, their quote, the quote of their tweet was, "We've 6 players in this magnificent Dubs team. We've developed facilities using fundraising events and grant facilities that are open to all clubs all around the country. Our Super 6 had all natural talent that was nurtured by our volunteer coaches, and you say money is the cause." Now it comes back to, I think, the big reason that Dublin stay better than everyone else is, once those talents come through, they're in a hothouse of a professional environment, and because you're winning stuff, I don't think any player ever wants to leave. Look at, so you've got all the best players in the county constantly pushing each other for 10 years. Every other county is hemorrhaging players left, right and centre, and you have to bring in a new group and try and bring them up, and then a few more have left, new group. And how do you have that same environment of the very best in the county pushing each other for 10 years with the best supports, with the best nutrition, with the best, I don't know, tactical approach, because you've got so many different coaches and expertise? I think that's the reason why.
It's really smart as well, because
that is money talking.
No, it is money talking. Yeah, it's really smart because they've built Dublin up now. Dublin 5 in a row. Like, playing for Dublin and being a Dublin footballer is so attractive. It's as attractive as trying to play for Leinster. It's as attractive as trying to play for Shamrock Rovers or Bows or something. Do you know what I mean? They've built it up to be something really big. So now they have young fellas aspiring at a really young age, maybe young fellas that are equally talented at rugby or soccer. They have them maybe leaning a bit more towards the football, because they see the stature, I suppose, and the status of a Dublin footballer now. It's a massive thing. It's a very, very smart thing as well.
Yeah, there are 8 games in the championship, but we won't, or in the senior championship, and then there's senior 2. We won't go into those. But St Jude's against Thomas Davis in Group 3 is worth looking at. They're both joint top on 3 points. Raheny are playing Plunkett, so that'd be like Brian Fenton and Brian Howard against the Brogans. I've gone in and watched Raheny before, and those 2 lads haven't stood out that much. I think it was a game against Ballyboden last year. Very hard to stand out when you're on the back foot the whole time.
It is tough, yeah. Like, you think kind of two players at senior level is not a lot. Do you know, especially when one of them, you're not a full forward who's going to score 1-5 from play. They're basically been asked to do some amount, and you do see that when a couple of lads are trying to carry a team, they are probably filling on a few positions as well. They're not playing midfield, they're playing midfield, wing back, wing forward. Do you know what I mean? They're trying to cover. And the thing with Dublin is, it's the sum of their parts, really. They have to play a particular role, and they play that to perfection. Howard plays his role to perfection, be it wing forward, midfield, wing back. Fenton, same midfield, but that's the role he has to play. He doesn't have to go here, there, everywhere and try and be everything for everyone.
Yeah, Jude's are a good side and have been close in the past couple of years. Kevin McMahon is a player that people will know, and Niall Coakley, who played briefly for Cork a couple of years ago. Lovely left foot on him, he's another one. St Vincent's against Ballantyre. Dermo, He's back. Mossy up front, still for
ageless.
Yeah, Shane Carty is another one that people would have seen in the past couple of years. Born in New York, of course, grew up there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Ger Brennan has retired this year, so this game is very much winner takes all.
Ger Brennan, who would have been part of Niall Carew's backroom team had he got the Tipperary job, he was going to be part of that backroom team.
Was he? Yeah, he was going
to be going into that. Yeah, Carew had a fair team put together, but just even on David Power's team in Tipperary, to start to digress, his backroom team is very impressive. You have Charlie McGeever, you have Paddy Christie, obviously, who's Ballymun and former Ballymun manager.
You think they're underachievers, by the way, don't you?
I do a bit, to be honest with you. We won county title.
One county title, yeah. Got to the All-Ireland final, had Bridget's on the rack.
Yeah.
And then fell away.
Like, that's like, for all they have, like, they've been don't get me wrong, they're underachieving in a different type of way. They've been always getting to the knockout stages. They've always been beaten by a really good team, but for what they have, you'd imagine they would have won more, especially with one of my favourite GA names, Ted Furman. I love that. I think that's a great name.
It sounds like something from Anchorman or something.
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah,
which is a terrible film, by the way.
Oh, stop.
It's the most overrated film of all time.
Absolute quality.
It's just Will Ferrell screaming all the time. It's like Tommy Tiernan started out funny and then he just started screaming all the time, and get over.
Just quickly on the Dublin Championship as well. I always kind of think it must be a funny place mentally to be coming back in from the euphoria of 5 in a row and basically wanting to go on the beer all winter and go on holidays and enjoy yourself, to getting back into club action. Do you know, it is a difficult one, and some lads will deal with it probably better than others. The ones going back into clubs that are struggling or under pressure, it's probably going to be more difficult to get yourself up. Yeah, it's probably going to be more difficult to get yourself up. And they've been away from them for so long. They played one game in April, one or two in April. Two. And they won't have been seen with them since.
Well, there are some teams that were out after 10 days, which shows how messed up the fixtures are, that you can have situations where teams are gone after 10 days. This is winner takes all, actually, between Ballantyre and St Vincent's. Castleknock are through at the top of the group. St Bridget's, who are their local rivals, that's who they're playing, and lost to last year. Or was it the year before? St Bridget's are out, and they're a bit of a fading force, to be honest. The team that won Leinster in 2011-ish, something like that.
Yeah, around that time. Barry Cattle and a few others, yeah.
There's interesting times in Roscommon, because it's the first time since 2009. I was chatting to Martin Wynn, a local journalist down there, that neither Bridget's nor Clonagale's name will be on the trophy. So Bridget's were beaten last weekend by Padraig Pearse's 4-12 to 2-12. Clonagale, who won in 15 and 18, they were knocked out at the round robin stages, as we were saying before. So Padraig Pearse has never won a senior title. They were runners-up 5 times there in the last maybe 14 or 15 years. Boyle are through. They last won a senior title in 27. Roscommon Gales are there. They won it in 04. And Strokestown, last title in 2002. So the two semi-finals, Padraig Pearse is against Boyle, Roscommon Gales against Strokestown. Now, I've got plenty more detail as well, having spoke to Martin, so I'll stay going here because it's interesting stuff. So Pearse has beat Boyle, who they're now playing the semi-final in the group stage, round 1 in August, so they'll be considered slight favourites. The county players that have will be the Daly brothers, Niall, Conor, Ronan, they've David Murray and Hubert Darcy. Also, the Smith brothers are on the other side for Boyle. Enda and Donny, people will know, and Enda Smith against Niall Daly, midfield will be tasty enough. Donny Smith got 115 when Boyle beat Clonagale, and relegation. And let's see, and actually people down there reckon that 115 was the highest individual tally ever scored in a Roscommon championship match, so he'll be the main scoring threat.
115 in football is some goal.
It is fair going.
And then in hurling now, let alone football.
Roscommon Gales against Strokestown. The Gales will be slight favourites there, so John McManus will be full back for them, county finalists. David O'Gara centre forward, Keane Connolly corner forward. Let's see, they also have Peter Gillooly in there, still an under 20, but he's a bright prospect. Strokestown missing a lot of players due to immigration. Carl Compton is in America and he played for New York earlier this year. Colin Compton is their main scoring threat, but it'd be seen as a bit of a shock. If
Martin is officially our Roscommon man. He has as much information there. You can't ask for more information.
I knew a fair bit of that myself. The Meath quarterfinals this weekend. So Simonstown against Dunshaughlin, Gael Cullenkill against Dunamore Ashburn, Summerhill against Nafina, and Radote against Screen. The thing that stands out here is that there's 3 inter-county refs reffing the 4 quarterfinals. David Goff, David Coldrick, Cormac Riley, Patrick Coyle is doing the other one. Is there any other county that produces as many inter-county referees?
Westmeath probably wouldn't be bad when it comes to hurling, actually.
Yeah.
We had James McGrath and Barry Kelly even at the
Wexford
same time
even
as well.
hurling over the years.
James Owens, Dickie Murphy. To have them at the same time, to have 3 referees of that standard at the same time is fair going now, in fairness.
Your lads Offaly as well. Barry Kelly and Brian Gavin.
Barry Kelly's Westmeath.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
He would have taught in Borough, all right.
Yeah.
Gavin obviously is R1. Yeah, no, I'd say Westmeath per capita is probably not bad. Like for James McGrath, and even Mick Murtaugh's around now as well. So they'll probably have 3 at the same time. Yeah, it's fair going.
Yeah, the Down Championship semi-final this weekend. Common Pattern Afa against Ballyholland. In Limerick, Ula, OOLA. What a name, by the way.
Yeah. You could say as well with the referees, because Meath aren't going that well, like it makes sense to get into the referee, and chances are you're going to get some big games.
Yeah, that's true.
Same with Westmeath. If you're in a neutral county like that probably aren't going to be contesting Lee McCarthy with a great chance. Whereas if you're from Tip or Kilkenny, like how many All-Irelands would you possibly got in the last couple of years? Very few.
Yeah.
Ula
against St Kieran's, that's in the semi-final. Cork quarterfinals.
Been played under lights as well, which I don't agree with.
I don't mind it in football, as in I don't mind playing it in football. In hurling, it's not great.
In a knockout game, like a semi-final, quarter-final, it's just so much different. Like, you haven't trained for that all year either. I just think it's different, particularly in hurling. I think it's very different.
Teams have been training for that for the past few weeks, because most trainings now are under lights.
Well, I'll just say, like, we haven't trained under lights yet this year.
We trained under lights last night.
But you're like, listen, if you have the money, you have the money.
No, we rent the field off Bray.
Yeah, you have the money to rent it.
We don't. I had to fundraise it. On my own. Cork quarterfinals. Clonakilty against Duhallow. Nemo against St Finbarrs. That's the big one there. Donegal Championship. Milford against St Eunan's. Kilcar against Killybegs. Nave Connell against Glenfin. Bundoran against Guidor. I think that's getting tasty in Donegal.
Yeah.
Hard to pick a winner just yet, but Guidor to retain it will be...
Guidor and Kilcar probably your 2 standouts at the moment.
The down semi-final, another down semi-final, Clonduff against Kilcoo. Kilcoo beat the Burn after a replay. Conor Laverty scoring one of the goals late on to steal that game. In Monaghan, Ballybay against Carrickmacross, and Latin against Trua. Kerry, there's any amount of games in round 2, so I'll just rattle through them and stop me if you want to make a comment on them. Rathmore against Kenmare. Kenmare District against Shannon Rangers. Mid Kerry against Kilcommon. Kevin McCarthy, I think, is Kilcommon man.
Yeah, he kicked 3-7 in the other final, intermediate final last year.
West Kerry against Killarney Legion, so James O'Donoghue will be looking to make an impact there.
Great to see him getting back as well with Kerry. I know they didn't win the All-Ireland, but it was great to see him get back on the pitch.
You wonder, can he get, like, can he ever get back to that 2014 level, or are the injuries just too much? Do you know, if he got a good run, would he get back up to it again?
I'd say if he got a good run, he probably would, but that's very, very difficult. And sometimes your
body... Would he get into the Kerry team again?
I think he would if he was. Like if he was D James O'Donoghue from like 2014 or that, of course he would. But it's just so difficult. You can't be off at intercounty level. You can't miss a week. You can do it with your club. You can't miss a week and. Like Stephen O'Brien and Clifford and Gainey are there. You can't. There's other lads, loads of other lads there as well. Killian Spillane. You can't miss a week. So like he needs to get a clean run. That's a lot easier said than done though. Unfortunately, he's been riddled, particularly with his shoulders. He had shoulder surgery after winning Footballer of the Year. Missed a lot of 15, and then he had another shoulder surgery, and he's a load of different knocks. But like all those little small things like matter as well.
East Kerry against Austin Stack, so Donaghy will be out there. Dingle against Cairns O'Rahilly. So you're looking at Paul Gainey up against the likes of Tommy Walsh, David Moran.
Tom O'Sullivan for Dingle as well. That's interesting one.
St Kieran's no doubt going to lose to Dr. Crokes, because Dr. Crokes look like they're up and motoring again. St Brendan's against South Kerry. The Laois semi-finals are on this weekend. Portlaoise against Port Arlington and Ballyfin against Collection in a clash of two teams that haven't really been here before. You'd imagine Portlaoise were going to do it again, wouldn't you? You'd imagine so, yeah. They were caught, of course, famously in, I think it was going for 10 in a row a couple of years ago. Was it 9 or 10? Yeah, with a last-minute goal that was just brilliantly worked. That's how you... Was that Stradbally? Yeah, Stradbally, yeah. That's probably how you have to beat them. It has to be nearly a smash and grab. You're very, very rare you're going to dominate them. They're so strong all over, in fairness. Your lads are playing football this weekend. The Offaly semi-finals, Road against Clara, Edenderry against Ferban. Clara are going very well, but like... Road have traditionally been, like, particularly in the last 5 or 6 years, they just cannot beat them. They just cannot get over the line against them. So I'd find it hard to see. But Road have been beaten twice this year in the group stages. They hadn't been beaten, I think, since 1999 in the group stages before this year. Yeah. Lost twice this year, once to Edenderry
and wants to Forban. But I'd imagine they would get over that. Obviously, there was news in the local paper today as well that Niall McNamee's going back with Offaly for another year, which is a big boost as well. He'll have to be kind of inspirational for Road. Clara have always found it hard to stop him, and just on Clara as well. Scott Brady is still going strong at midfield for Clara. Like, he played for Offaly, it's over 10 years ago now at this stage. He's an absolute man-mountain midfield. His brother Ross will be playing there as well. The other semi-final is interesting. Eden Derry are the farm team in Offaly, but they're coming up against a Forban side who were slow to get going, but had a really good result against Shamrocks in the quarter-final and beat Road in the game before that. Are flying, beat Coolderry 10 points in the hurling last weekend. They're flying at the moment, and they have the talent to beat Eden Derry. I won't fear Eden Derry, so that'll be an interesting one. If I were to predict, I probably actually think Forban would beat Eden Derry. I think it'd be a Forban Road final, which it was 2 years ago as well.
Road have won 4 of the last 5, and the last time they weren't even in a final was 2011, so their dominance continues. Sligo quarter-final replay, Calgary St Joseph's against Shamrock Gales. The Tipperary quarter-finals, Ballyporeen, which of course home of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. And Conor Sweeney.
Yeah, more importantly for this fixture against Clonmel Commercials, Quinlivan, Seamus Kennedy, you name it, they've got a lot of class players there. Kerr against Mile Rovers, Arvale against Lockmore Castleiney. And we were saying a few weeks ago that Lockmore, they rested all their players for a mid-hurling quarter-final, I think it was, because basically they're on the dual front here looking for county titles.
An interesting one, John McGrath said last year, or a couple of years ago, I forget what he having, it was grind, I think. He was having big grind trouble.
He didn't kick the ball once.
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant, and that's kind of, it was nearly an indictment of modern day football as well, that he didn't have to kick the ball, but he'd actually nearly be standing off him if you knew, like, it was a great thing. Like, did they win a county championship?
They won one, I'm trying to think the last time, they did the double there, they did the double a few years ago. Tyrone semi-finals, Coal Island against Trillick, Ergal Kieran against Carrickmore. Then in Wexford, Castletown against St Martin's, who of course won their hurling quarter final last weekend. Glyn Barntown, who they beat, are against Gussaran O'Rahilly's.
Will you get up the while I'm talking to you there, will you get up the famous Gussaran tweet when Road hammered them? Remember, there was an absolutely quality tweet. If you type it in, I'd say you'll get it. But Glyn were kind of dual at the same time as well, and trying to balance the two, which is difficult. Wexford Championship, I think it's nearly 10 different winners in the last 10 years or something like that, which can be a sign of its competitiveness or a sign that, I don't know, a lot of teams are at not that high of a level, and anybody can win it on a given year.
Is this the tweet that 11 minutes into the second half, Road were 4-16 to 1 point for Gussaran, and your man kind of finishes off the tweet with pain in me whole type?
That's the one, They were after winning, I think, the county final, their first one ever, I think, the week before, and then had to play then Road at Powerhouse then the week after.
It finished 5-22 to 4 points.
Yeah.
Wow. The Wicklow semi-finals, Blessington against Arklow Geraldine's Ballymoney. Jeez, that's a fair name. Against St Pat's against Avondale.
Yeah, St Pat's would be favourites. Casey O'Brien over Pat's. Pat's had that horrible situation last year where they had to play. They won the county final on Saturday, went out for a few scoops that night, and had to play an Offaly team the next day. I think it could have been Road again, actually. Yeah. But they'd be favourites, strong enough favourites. Arklow Gerards would probably be second favourites. Avondale beat Ratnew. I think Ratnew might have been down 1 or 2, and Leighton Glynn hadn't too much done before they played them in the quarter final. Avondale would be big outsiders there. You'd imagine it would be Pats and Gers in the final. Blessington, of course, always thereabouts. And of course, did they win their? They won the All-Ireland Club title in '91, I think. Kevin O'Brien, they're only Wicklow's only All-Star, so they've great tradition there as well.
Cavan Senior Football Championship semi-finals, Castlerahan against Cavan Gales. So we spoke about before that Cavan Gales had Ronan Clark in charge. Things didn't go great there. Carol Crotty and kind of Mickey Graham, the Cavan manager, doing a bit. Shawnee Johnson broke his arm, so I think he's doing a bit of coaching. But like Martin Dunn with Cavan Gales. Do you remember when he was how good he was with Cavan? And then he got a broken. There was a sort of a melee between Cavan and Armagh, the 2014 Ulster. He ended up on the sideline then in a sling with broken hand. And like he had in the 2013 championship, he was second highest scorer overall with 133. I think they got to, was that the year they got to a quarter final and were beaten by Kerry?
Kerry, that probably was.
And like he just, I don't know, did he step away or whatever? But he looked like a class player that would help Cavan kick on. But he's part of Cavan.
Michael Ling is another one. Do you remember him? Blondie centre forward. He was another one that you thought, just this like could be deadly. He was really good nuts. This is going back a while now, and maybe just didn't kick on. They've had a few players kind of like that down through the years.
Yeah, on form, Castleran, they're going well despite needing a replay against Killygarry. Crosserlock against Rammer, so they'll be favourites. Crosserlock, a lot of young guns there, a lot of under 21s through. Darren McVitie, people that know, Conor Rahal, Paddy Lynch, young team though, getting to the final last year. And Jimmy Higgins managing them. He was with Cavan in the past. Then with Rammer, they're the only team in Cavan with their second team in the intermediate. So and I think they just got relegated all the same. But that'll show you the strength and depth that they have.
Only team United as well.
Yeah, true. Rammer United, what a name. Decent side, Jack Brady would be one of their players, but you'd imagine Crosserlock will get over the line. Leitrim, right, so you've got Ballinamore against Mohill and Glencar-Manorhamilton against Melvin Gales. So Dom Corrigan is managing Ballinamore. He won All-Irelands with St Michael's of Enniskillen. Shane Moore will be on the county team. They're sort of a sleeping giant, expected to win. But Mohill have been in 4 of the last 6 finals, so they're obviously no amongst. They won a couple of them. So Glencar-Manorhamilton, they've won plenty of titles. I think they won them, 2008 to 11. Emma Mulligan is on Melvin Gales. They ended the 5 in a row bid of Glencar back in 2012. But I think Glencar, they're probably bookies titles to win overall here. Emlyn Mulligan is on Melvin Gales, everyone knows him. Just how good was he? Like 3 cruciates and still goes on and does an awful lot with the county.
It's phenomenal. He stepped away last year. I think Terry Hyland was hopeful of getting him back at some stage this year. No, he stepped away at some stage last year.
He played in the league final.
He stepped away after or maybe after the first round of the championship.
Yeah.
It could have been after the league final actually, but it was basically because of injury. Like he just couldn't get a clean run at it. But like he was the marquee man really. He always was there for the guts of a decade. It was great that he got to play in Croke Park last year. I think he had worked some mad shift with the guards even before that. I think he would have worked a night shift.
Yeah, he's spoken about that before. A lot of the time that was happening. Like again, another player that could have gone to Donegal, like his good friend Paul Brennan has gone to Donegal there the past few years.
Would that have happened in like a stronger county? Do you know, it's never going to happen in Dublin, obviously. That's like that type of thing, and it just does show you like some of the problems, I suppose, and the difficulties and challenges that players in weaker counties have. Like it's difficult. Like you can't go jiggling juggling things like maybe in a stronger county where they can look after you.
The Carlow Championship, Ayr Oak against Bagnallstown Gales. So Killian Curran tweeted on this. Newly formed club Bagnallstown Gales into the Carlow semi-finals. New club, only a few months old, amalgamation of Erin's Own Hurling Club and St Andrews Football Club. The semis unfortunately postponed due to torrential rain on Sunday. It would be amazing to make the final in the first year. It really would.
That'd be class, yeah. And amalgamations, people, if you look on the outside, you think, like it's like Imo Killy, you're looking and thinking, just these boys are fair strong, look at the amount of players they have.
Yeah.
But when you're putting different clubs together, it doesn't always like work like that.
The combo.
Yeah, you don't. It doesn't work like that though, because there's a power struggle on the line, there's a power struggle on the team. Who's going to hit the freeze? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? At the end of the day, you've grown up with this group of lads. There's a big cohort of them over here, and there's another cohort over here, and it can be hard to gel the two of them together. That's the hardest part. The fact that they've done so well already this year is very promising though.
And a final thing then to mention is the Ballymacarbry ladies winning their 38th Waterford ladies title in a row.
5 in a row Dublin, that's nothing. 38.
Yeah, and Aidan Barry was tweeting he tweeted that, and then the club Twitter just kind of clarified, because I was wondering how many people like that played now would have mothers or even grandmothers that played on previous teams. But the club Twitter clarified by saying Lauren Fitzpatrick, Maeve Ryan, Laura Mulcahy, Kellyanne Hogan, Louise Ryan, Sinead Ryan, Michelle Ryan, Abby Dalton, Becky Hogan, Ailish Ryan and Lauren Gyrey would all have had aunts or mothers who won county titles with Ballymac in the 70s, 80s and 90s. And our team selector Katrina Casey not only won numerous county titles with Ballymacarbry but also All-Irelands with Waterford, and she was the first female ladies footballer to score a goal in Croke Park in the 1986 junior final. So that's
and Michael Ryan actually managed them to a couple of All-Irelands as well.
Indeed.
Wouldn't it have been great if there was someone there who won their first one at like 16 and they said, I'm going to hang on until we lose one, and they were still hanging on in their 50s.
They did a Mickey Linden on at 56. And just a quick mention then, there was a charity hurling and football match last weekend, a half and a half of each in Clonmel. Ratcool Commercials Club did a fundraising night, Play for Amy, and they tweeted that they raised over 20k for Play for Amy, where past county players like Paul Curran and Jack Sheedy played hurling and football, and Jim Gavin also presented a signed jersey to Amy. So congrats there, and delighted that you raised so many funds.
And just on that as well, I think that things like that are great how the GA community comes together. Like Jim Gavin was there, like that's a few days after doing All Ireland. There's that great story that Roy Curtis had out on Twitter about Roy Curtis, big Dublin fan obviously, and his mother would have been as well before she passed, and Jim came in and visited her in the hospital, and actually she asked him like, is Dermot Connolly coming back, or is he going to come back? And Gavin said to her that she'd be the first to know if he came back. And the Sunday where he announced on Dublin TV that Connolly was back, he dropped in that evening to the hospital into her, like, do you know what I mean? He gets a bit of a bad rap because he's not like, doesn't give us like great sound bites, like, but he's an unbelievable man in fairness.
That's a good one. Okay, so that's it for club football talk this week. Let us know if there's any stories we're missing or you think should be covered in the coming days, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel by hitting on that button just there.